If you have missed my previous stream, I tried for 2 hours to get this one mystic rune that is called Gloomy Dice. It is insanely broken and I needed it for my team, so I tried and I used this bug. For those of you that don't know how this bug works, I will explain it to you in just a second, but it took me actually 2 hours crafting like millions of moon shards, using millions of moon shards to craft this one rune, and I was doing that on my stream on Twitch live, so I have that one documented. If you guys haven't yet followed me on Twitch, then I recommend you to do so. I stream Axie Infinity Origin as well as Axie Infinity Classic. But with that being said, if you go into your inventory, all you have to do is just select your moon shard. There's nothing else to select usually, so just go into your moon shard, go into the crafting section, and then select the intermediate one. Press on the little plus sign, add your moon shard, and then select the craft quantity. Let's say that's 50, so you will get some runes and charms for that, exactly 50 of those. Some of them will be rare, some of them will not be, and then you go into your basic ones, craft that once, and then you get all of those moon shards back. And once you run out of moon shards, that can happen, you can go into the disenchant and then start disenchanting the runes and charms if you lack them for the crafting. So that's how this bug is done, and that has allowed me to get Gloomy Dice as a rune. And for those of you that don't know how Gloomy Dice works, in odd rounds you apply Hex, and in even rounds you apply Fear. And if you can't really imagine how broken that is, your opponent is permanently debuffed. Whether that's your round or his round, he will be putting confused cards into his pile. Now, getting yourself a triple dusk team with this rune is probably the most broken thing, and what it makes me think is that Axie Infinity Origin might just be pay to win, like heavily pay to win. If I had unlimited resources and it still took me 2 hours of purely crafting, spending like 40 million moon shards to get this rune, imagine how long and how many resources it will take once they implement SLP into this game. Now, it might be a little bit biased because the utility recipes don't really work, so those really skew the outcome in the favor of the mystics. So let's say we add a couple of moon dusts. Let's see how the percentage increases. So we can get it up to 20% for a mystic, 75% for an epic. So maybe that will be worth it. Currently it doesn't work, so we don't really have the data to go off, but as far as I have done it with this method, it took me a very, very long time. Also, maybe I was a little bit unlucky because I got 17 mystic runes called Shady Exchange. I actually had a tracker on the stream to do that, but I got my Gloomy Dice finally, and the team that I was running with the Gloomy Dice is this team right here. And the reason I went for this team is because I have 2 hotbots as well, and hotbots add cards, add burns to your opponent discard pile, and then with the Gloomy Dice your opponent will be adding confused into his pile as well, and that's the team that I decided to go for. So let's jump into one game so I can show you how this team exactly works. Now, before we play the game, let me just tell you that I know that this rune is broken and it's very, very good, but I don't have the optimal team for it. I think the optimal team is triple dusk. 2 dusks have Gloomy Dice and the front lane dusk has malediction. That way you get a little bit more value from it. I went for the healing pulse. I don't think that's the best option as well. I'm facing a triple aqua that has quite a lot of health. Let's see whether we can get anything for it right here. I do have the hot bot. I really want to play that, and I think I should, but let's play the cactus first. We can then play the hollow, play the hot bot as well, and I think I'm gonna use the energy coin just to play the sandal and deal as much damage as I can while applying some leaves as well. So I will be healing from the leaves and I will be healing from the healing pulse while my opponent is feared, and those aquas have quite a lot of damage cards, so if my opponent wants to attack into me, he will be triggering that Gloomy Dice, and Gloomy Dice will be stuffing his discard pile with a lot of confused cards. Now I also have a double confusion on my front lane plants, so that should add a couple of more cards that he doesn't really want to see in his discard pile. So far I have put 3 burns in there. He put 1 confused right now. He should be attacking more into it, so we can see another confused in there. So that is like, what, 5 cards that we already put in there. Let's see whether we can get any more, and he had to waste 2 energy on that hollow. Let's hope that we can get a hollow as well. Goes for the goldfish, another confused in there, so that's already like 7 cards. And let's see how far we can take this. Now he should be applying a dex to himself, a hex rather, With Hex, he doesn't really have any defensive cards, so that Hex doesn't really hurt him. Now we can go for this. We can go for the Acro, and there is another bug with a discard. With the series, you can target the series and you don't really have to select a card that you need to discard. You can just play it, and then that deals damage. And we can go for another holo, sacrificing essentially my front lane, but doesn't really change that much. I still should be getting one more hot bot. Let's see whether we can get that. The front lane is feared, so if he wants to use it, he might be stuffing another confused into his pile. And now he almost cycled through his deck, right? So now he will be drawing those confused, he will be drawing those burns, but my team will probably not work as good as I intended versus a triple aqua, because he already has double bubbles on it. And if you have double bubbles, then the burn only deals 5 damage rather than however many it should be doing. Now I get absolutely terrible card draw. Let's use these cards right here. That's only 25 damage, and let's get a pumpkin for ourselves as well. I don't really have a hot bot anymore, so looks like that was not the best of card draws and not the best of uses for my front lane plant. I'm not sure whether the healing pulse on the front lane is the best option. We can see that he's still feared, he's still adding those confused cards to his pile. Unfortunately for us, he still manages to get those damage cards, even though his discard deck should be absolutely ruined from this point. I'm gonna go for the Nemo because it gives me a bubble. Not sure whether that's the most optimal play. Also gonna go for a confused, apply fear to that mid lane. Let's get an Nemo as well. Let's apply that fear. And now I have a choice. Do I go for a pumpkin and try to protect my mid lane, or do I go for the damage from the sandal? And I think the damage could be a choice, because I know he used the koi already. He used a goldfish, I believe, as well, and he still has quite a lot of these cards that will make it harder for him to deal with this situation. So I think now he doesn't really have a kill threat or kill potential here. With the card draw that is really messed up for him, which is the revenge cards, the confused, and the burns. Let's see whether he manages to get anything significant in here. We do have a bubble that kind of saves us. He goes for the clear, applying Hex to himself or applying confused, but he does draw some of the cards. Goes for the Oranda, heals from that, and he goes for a risky fish as well. So that was not a good gamble for me. I think my Axie would have been dead anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much. But it's not the best of plays, and I'm really gonna get terrible cards right here. I only get the defensive cards, so this Gloomy dice is not the best. I don't have the best team for it, I'll tell you that, but in a scenario where you can actually pull off these cards on dusks that have, let's say, thorny caterpillars, or they have tiny turtles, this is just a mess of a rune to deal with. Like, it's really hard to deal with. You are consistently getting debuffed, whether it's the fear or whether it's the hex. You will get confused cards in your pile. It's really hard if you are playing a slow team to deal with those fears and confused. But I think the one rune that does counter this team is a regenerator on a reptile. A regenerator heals you for 10%, or it applies a cleanser if you are sitting on full health. So getting those cleansers versus the debuffs could be a good thing to get. Looks like I'm gonna get absolutely terrible cards yet again. Maybe this time we get something better. Cute bunny. Not the best, but something to work with. I still should be losing this game, though. If he draws like a single koi, I'm gonna be dead. But yeah, I just wanted to show you how long it can take to get a Mystic Rune, how that might look in the coming game of Axie Infinity Origin when it launches, with the SLP being mixed in there as well. I think this rune is absolutely broken, and pretty much any Mystic Rune is very, very good, which makes me think, will this game be play to win, or pay to win rather, just getting those mystic runes? And if you get them like the Bloodlust, that one is another good example. It's not mystic, it's epic, but it's just so good that the cards don't really matter. What matters is what runes and what charms you get, and that will dictate whether you win in the arena or not. Hopefully it will have less of an impact as we move with updates for Origin, and hopefully we will see those updates in there. Let me guys know in the comment section down below, what do you think about Gloomy Dice and the impact of it in the game right now. It's probably the most broken card I have seen, or broken rune. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel for daily playthrough and content, and I will see you in the next one.